G'day folks, welcome back to the channel for part 1 of a new series of an old game. We're playing Grim Dawn once again, and based on a poll I put up a few months back asking what type of character you'd like to see, it's going to be an Aether Pet Ritualist. Now I've mentioned before that Necromancer is one of my favorite masteries in Grim Dawn, and this video series will take you through leveling your own from level 1 to level 100 with nothing in the bank. As usual, we are doing hardcore solo self-found rules, and as such, I've got a clean save with absolutely nothing on it. I have no gear, I have no iron bits, I have no blueprints, I have no components. The bank is empty, just as if this was a brand new, just purchased game that you were loading for the first time ever. This guide will be based on a text guide by user Uncle Mac on the Crate forums. It's a leveling build. It will get you to level 100 and it will let you farm the gear for a more endgame build. I'm not going to be following Uncle Mac's guide completely one for one, as I'm quite familiar with the Pet Ritualist at this point, but if anyone wishes to skip my waffling and see how it can be done without a 20-hour video series of second monitor content, the link will be in the description. So, let's get this on the road. We will be playing Veteran, we will be playing Hardcore, and I'm calling it Memento, if I can type, Memento Maurice. And hopefully a few people get a chuckle out of that. Alright, let's get underway. I'm going to be skipping all of the lore, all of the cutscenes and such. I do encourage people to play along if you wish to see all those things. Then I definitely recommend reading it for yourself. We are off on our first quest. Now, the spinning of the screen like this, I don't typically do it. I will only be doing it for certain specific things like getting that note just there. It does give you a very nice boost to the start of your play. And this guy here, if you are not comfortable dodging his swings, I recommend just walk past him. Don't bother killing him. He has a huge amount of hit points, especially on Veteran. And if I can get him to do his charge, watch my health bar. He didn't do the big swing. If he does his charge and hits you with his big swing, he will wipe out half your health bar in one swing. Right, so we'll read that, we'll chuck this on, and we'll get underway. One more zombie should get me level 2, and we will start our journey as a necromancer. 1 point in the bar and 2 points in raised skeletons is going to be the default for the next 8 levels or so. There are a few different ways you can start with a necromancer. You could just put 1 point in the bar and then dump everything into raised skeletons until it's maxed. You could put 1 point in the bar and get skeletons up to 9 out of 16. This will allow you to summon mages as well as the archers and the... it's the wrong screen. The archers and the melee pets. And then you focus on getting up to Undead Legion, which will give you more skeletons. The way I'm going to do it though is kind of a halfway. I'm going to continually put 1 point in the bar and 2 points in the skill. And that will get me maxed out skeletons around level 8 or 9. At that point, I should have most of, if not all of the skill points required to start pumping points into Undead Legion. As a necromancer, especially a pet necromancer, but just in general, necromancers level best with the skeletons early on. It is my belief that raised skeletons is the best leveling skill in the game. Not second best, not third best, it is the best leveling skill in the game. But you do have to support them, and the skeletons are not tanks, okay? Don't try and use them as tanks, you need another pet to tank. They are there to kill things, and they are very good at it. So early on, we don't have any gear with plus skills on it. We don't have any gear with, acid resist for your pets. So if they stand in a pool of acid blood, they're going to die, or at least they're going to take a lot of damage. So early on, you will have to resummon them. Even later on, you'll probably have to resummon them occasionally, but it does get a lot better later. To the point where after about level 70 or so, it's pretty rare that you'll have to summon them except if you're fighting a boss. But by then, we will have some gear that will make it much easier and free in terms of energy in order to resummon them. So starting on, not Elite, on Veteran, you want to pump the Raised Skeleton skill as much as you can because it gives flat damage to your skeletons. Let me kill these and I'll show you what I mean. Actually, I'll probably wait till I get the next level and I can show that easier. Shouldn't take too long, I'll just kill a few more zombies. Rescuing this guy gives us nothing for now, but after we have killed the reanimator, let's see, look how quickly they died there. Maybe we'll get some archers. Nope, no archers. After you kill the reanimator, rescuing that guy will be worth, I think it's 150 XP, but whatever it is, it's some amount of XP and some reputation with Devil's Crossing, I believe. Okay. So there's a few things you need to know about skeletons. The first one is anytime you change the level of this skill, so if you put a piece of gear on with +2 to skeletons, if you take it off, if you happen to swap your weapons, and one of them had plus or whatever to skeleton levels, you will desummon every single skeleton you have by putting a point into or out of this skill, and you'll have to summon them again. And early on, you only summon 3 at a time. So if you have a maximum of 9 and you unsummon them all, you will be basically naked because you'll have no pets to hide behind for however long it takes you to summon them 3 times. And at the moment, that's almost a minute. Right, so if you hold down, what is it, Control, Alt, something like that, I forget. Maybe I'm remembering Grim Tools, but there is a way to check what your skeletons do. At the moment, if you look at the top of the grey section there, in the blue color, it says Ancient Weapons. So that is the physical damage and the vitality damage that your skeletons do. And the mages do fire damage with their fireballs, but generally speaking, most of the damage is going to be physical, with a bit of vitality and a bit of fire. As you put skill points into the Raised Skeletons skill, you'll notice that Ancient Weapons goes up a lot. When you're playing on Veteran, you want that as high as you can get it, because if you just go to level 9 and start putting points in the bar and get more skeletons, yeah, you'll have more of them, but they won't be doing enough damage. It is better, in my experience, to have 3 super skeletons early on than it is to have 6 or 7 weaker skeletons, because more points in the skill gets you more damage, so they kill things faster, which means they take less damage because dead things don't hurt you, generally, unless they leave puddles on the floor or explode when they die. But generally speaking, you'll take less damage if everything's dead. And they also just have more health because you have more points in the skill. So that is the early game mission, I guess we'll call it. The objective of the first act is to get the Raised Skeleton skill to 16 out of 16 hard points, and then hard cap it at 26 out of 16. Now, you're not going to be able to do that every single time, all of the time. You're going to have to swap gear out for resistances. You're going to have to swap gear out for other pets or other skills later on. But initially, at least for the first few acts, you want to get as close to 26 out of 16 on that Raised Skeleton skill as you can. There's going to be several items later on that will make this fairly easy. But for the first act, every time you go back to town, you just want to open the merchant and do a search for skeleton. And I'll show you how to do that once we go say hello to the reanimator in here. So this guy here is an archer. He does physical and vitality. These 2 little bony boys, they are just regular skeletons or peasants, but they just do basic melee attacks. So they do have a charge, but it's physical damage and vitality damage. The next skeleton we will unlock, or the next type we will unlock, will be next level, and that's going to be the mages, which are our source of AoE. For the early game, I do like to have pet attack on my right click, because it lets me tell them, focus on the boss and just kill him. And then I use my character with Hevel's Greatsword, which we picked up earlier and is always there. I use my character to clear out uh, the summoned zombies, and then keeping an eye on how many skeletons I have left. He didn't kill any this time, but often he does. Down here is where you'll see how many skeletons you have. And as soon as it gets down to 1, I just resummon them. So use the lore notes. Again, I'm not reading these out. If you want to read them, they're available online. Or you can play along, which would be the ideal situation. Um, being as how we are starting fresh, I am going to swap out my right click for this spell. This is a cold spell. It's good for throwing through groups of enemies and doing damage to multiple targets. This is from a component. Components will drop from various things you kill, and they give you skills, or this one gives you +2 to your, or sorry, +8 to all of your stats. This one will give you a bit of armor. If I had a belt, I would put that on there, but I don't. For the attribute points, early on, I just like to go physique. I may put 5 points into spirit, just to help with some early gearing, but initially you want physique, and just in general. As a hardcore character, you want as much health as you can get, and the way you get more health is by pumping physique, or there's one of the ways rather. So 1 point of physique. We just got a devotion point. Devotion points are basically like your 3rd class. This looks absolutely mad. It looks crazy. Just ignore it. Just zoom in right here. You're interested in just these close ones for now. So this is where you start. I'm going to be going for the Imp as my first constellation, so I will be putting 1 point in the blue crossroads, which will then allow me to put points in here, and at the end we will get some Aether damage. Early on, we're not going to focus too much on Aether for Act 1, mostly because our pets don't do Aether at the moment, but when we kill the boss of Act 1, we will potentially kill him a few times, and we will take his weapon, which does Aether damage, or it converts the physical damage on our pets to Aether. So at this point, we can go back to town. We've completed the first mission, and also we found Faldus. So we'll talk to John Bourbon, agree to talk to his friends and help them out. Kasparov here, he wants you to get him some crystals, which is what we got that skill point for, just for having, I think it's 4 Aether crystals. Gets us, it only gets us 1 skill point. I had a level up sitting there doing nothing. Which is going into these, and I'm just going to put another point in the bar. So with 10 points, we passed the 9 points required for mages. Unfortunately, I didn't summon one. They do start out relatively low chance to be summoned when you start, like when you first unlock them. So we're going to do up here in the search bar, search for Skell, and it will light up any section that has an item with bonuses to plus skeletons. And unfortunately, there isn't one at the moment. Here's Faldus. We're going to talk to him. Yeah, he did give us reputation and some iron and some scrap. Sybil, we don't have any reason to talk to her at the moment. She will give us a quest, which we are going to do. And this is Sedina, the spirit guide. Sedina can be used to remove points from skills. She doesn't, or this screen doesn't allow you to put them in, but you can take them out again. So you can respec everything here except for the last point in your, for example, Necromancer tree. And later on when I get to the Shaman, as soon as I put a point in the Shaman bar, that's it, we're locked into Necromancer and Shaman. But everything else can be respec'd pretty much as you like. Same for your devotion points. I can take this out. It will cost me an Aether Crystal and some Iron Bits at the moment, so your devotions are a little more expensive to respec. Okay, so level 7, we are going to put a point in the bar and 2 points into Raised Skeletons. At this point, you could put 3 points in Raised Skeletons, next level another 3 points, and then go on to get Undead Legion. I'm just going to continue with 1 in the bar and 2 in the skill. At the end of the day, it doesn't really make a big difference. As long as you max out Raised Skeletons, you'll be fine. So Barnabas's water pump, we need 5 scrap for, so we're not quite done on that. And we have a mission to kill 3 zombies and find an apprentice. So we come out on the other side of the hill that Kaizog was in. There's our 5th scrap, so we could go back to town now and do the windmill for, the water pump with Barnabas, but we're just going to continue on. For the moment, I am picking up yellows. I generally pick up yellows until I have a yellow item in every slot. As you can see, I have some empty slots and some grey items. So I will pick up yellows until I have a yellow in every slot, then I'll turn them off, and I'll only pick up rares from that point on. So we're just going to kite for the moment. As we don't have the Blight Fiend yet, we don't really have a tank pet, but we will get him, I think, around level 15 or so. I forget exactly what level you get him at, but it's relatively early. Alrighty, moving on through Whitemire. Oh, see those fireballs? That's us. That's, where is he? Here, this guy. Our new mage pet. So we have 1 mage and 2 archers. My preference is for about that, I guess you'd call it a composition. You're never going to be able to fully choose how many of each skeleton you want, but I do tend to prefer archers over mages, especially in a damage conversion build, because we are converting all of the physical to Aether, and then amplifying Aether and reducing enemy resistances to Aether. Our Aether damage does quite a bit, but the fire damage from the mages is not converted to Aether until very late in the show, and only then if you get lucky finding the gloves that do it. So and there's a belt as well. But early on, or later on I guess, once you are converting all of your physical to Aether and you're focusing on Aether, the mages do less and less damage in time, or over time. And actually, the basic peasant skeletons end up doing a lot of damage because they'll dash in and hit things. They do die pretty quickly as well, which is unfortunate. Same with the knights. The knights, which I think we'll be able to summon now. Did we get one? No, we didn't. But the beefy boys have an aura, and they don't charge, but they will just kind of walk around, and their aura does damage. I think it's vitality damage, which is pretty good. Again, though, vitality is not really being converted to Aether in this build, so the effectiveness of that does fall off. Necromancers is something we do want to look out for. In this case, the Necromancers gave us +2 to Reaping Strike, but it can absolutely give you a +2 to raise skeletons as well. We are wandering around in this area. You might be asking yourself why. We're looking for a merchant. Actually, no, we're not. I'm just wandering around in the wrong area. That's why we're here. Okay, so the merchant is further up ahead, and I'm just walking around waffling. These slith necklaces, I need 3 of them. You can hold on to them until Elite and Ultimate. If you wanted to, you could just walk around in normal, collect 9 of them, and then put 6 of them in your stash, and you don't have to do this quest on Elite and Ultimate. You just turn it in as soon as you show up, or as soon as you get to the merchants that'll take them. For a new character though, all you need to know is you want 3 of them for normal, and once you have it, you get a nice necklace. Or sorry, it's a ring. Okay, we resummon because we got a bit low. That's our Whitemire Rift. Do I have 3 necklaces? I have 2. Okay. Just to the right of the Whitemire Rift is one of the 3 zombies we've been tasked to kill. The first one, Pharos the Rotted, was the zombie that was spitting acid at us earlier. So we've already killed him. And the second one is just up here. The second one's probably going to murder our skeletons because he has a lightning aura, and 2 of our skeletons are melee range. So they're going to dash in and promptly melt in lightning damage. And there we go, making a lie of me, not killing a single one of them. Not the end of the world. Okay, so the ones we have equipped have 50 armor, 40 health, and 6 physique. That is pretty good. And I think we're going to stick with that for now. This body right here, this rotting corpse, this is always here, and it will always drop this Carver's Conjuring Bone. Now the dream, at least at low levels, is to get either a Carver's Conjuring Bone of Caged Souls or some other pet affix. But we'll just take the Oath Keepers for now. It doesn't really matter. We will be replacing it around level 20. We just want it for the basic stuff for right now, excuse me. This is Milton Hart. He is part of the quest from his sister, Sybil Hart, who I said earlier we don't have anything to say to. Well, now we have something to say to her. At this point I'm going to go back to town because I need to sell. Now is also a good time to check the merchant for any skeleton items, and I am going to hang on to a main hand weapon, or a one-handed weapon, sorry, because I will be putting this on in a level or 2 once I have the spirit. And you can see here, this chest is +2 to raise skeletons. Now that is decent for early levels, but I'm not going to buy it because it needs a ton of spirit that we don't have, so we won't be able to wear it for a while anyway. And it's going to be outdated very quickly. I'm just going to put that on, not even going to look at what it is, because you start with a salt bag, which does basically nothing early on. Do hang on to the salt bag though, there is a quest in ultimate difficulty that requires it. That said, if you would prefer to, you can just throw it on the ground and then make a new character. Alright, so level 9, and our raised skeletons are now at the soft cap of 16 out of 16. So without items that give us plus to skills, that's as strong as they're going to get. Fortunately for us, we will have some items that will give us plus to skills. We don't have any just yet though. I'm just going to hang on to that stuff for now. Being a hardcore solo self-found character, there's not really much point putting anything in the stash. If I die, I'm going to delete this character anyway. So it doesn't really matter. I'm not saving anything for later on. Going to pick up the rest of this stuff, and I believe I'm getting close to having an item in every slot. I just need shoulders, boots, belts are good. So this one here, health regen and 9% pet damage. I will wear that. You'll notice that just giving them stats, so percent extra damage, did not de-summon them. It's only if you give them levels. And I believe if you swap an item out with +2 raised skeleton and you swap in another item with +2 to raised skeleton, with the same click, it will desummon them as well. So our third zombie, Negan the Withered, is just up the road here. I'm actually going to resummon my skeletons. These two here both have a vitality damage aura, and as you can see, this guy's dying considerably faster than the first one. Soul warding, not amazing, but the soul warding is giving us the Aether resist, the resistant is giving us lightning, poison, and acid, and that is a very good ring. The only thing missing that I would want on that is +2 to raise skeleton, which we're not getting. There's our boots, which we can't use because we are not high enough level. One good thing about pumping physique early on is it lets you use most of the armor you find. The bad thing about it though is there will be some things, typically jewelry, caster offhands, and caster armor, that you will not have the spirit required to wear, but it's not a big deal. As I said earlier, if you're really worried about that sort of thing, putting your first 5 points into spirit is not a big problem. You can do that and be perfectly happy. The cold skill I got from that component is starting to fall off, so I'll probably look to replace it with Bone Harvest or something coming up here soon. We will want, around Act 2 I think, we will want a skill to proc the Shepherd's Crook devotion, but for right now I think we're fine. This shrine here, because it's red, the earlier one wanted Aether Crystals, this one is a combat shrine. So basically, you click on it, you click go, you kill everything that shows up, and it gives you one more devotion point. So we're going to start on this. Now this 15% fire and Aether damage, that only applies to the character's damage, it doesn't apply to your pets. If something is going to apply to your pets, it will specifically say, actually I'll show you on a piece of gear, because we have one already. See the Subjugator's cloth strap of mending here. At the bottom, it says a bonus to all pets, and then it has stats. If an item doesn't say bonus to all pets, then it does not give you bonuses to your pets. So no amount of plus +1,000,000% Aether damage is going to let our pets do any more extra damage. When you do get to the Foggy Bank Rift, head to the left. This entrance will give you the devotion point. Continue heading left, and this will get you a rare pair of shoulders. Isaac's shoulders are always here. There is a quest you can go and fetch, which is in a house just down here. So this is where the lightning zombie is. This is where Milton was, although Milton could be in one of these two houses as well. If you go up the road and go left, there'll be another house here with some cultists in it. And that house will have a trapdoor in it. You can go down there, kill a bunch of stuff, talk to Isaac as he dies. He will tell you about this island we're about to go onto, and he will tell you all about the stash of gear he put on here. Okay, so we've gotten to level 10, and this means two things for us. One, well, this nothing to do with level 10, but Isaac's spoilers are always here. They are always rare, and they always have physical damage retaliation on them. For a pet build, not a big deal. We're at the point now where we have a yellow or better item in every slot, which means I'm going to come down here to the loot filter. You can press O, you can click on this ring here. I'm going to turn magic items off. I'm also going to turn melee two-hand off and range weapons off and shields. Actually, I'll keep shields. Later on I'll turn shields off. These weapons are not things we're going to use. Just don't care about those. Right, level 10. At level 10, you can select your second mastery. We are going to be a ritualist, so we will be taking Shaman, and we will be getting the Briar Thorn, we're getting Mogdrogan's Pact, we're getting Primal Spirit, and we'll be getting Primal Bond. But this is all way in the future, okay? I believe the guide that this video is loosely based on will have you maxing Necromancer and stopping around 25 points in to get Call of the Grave. I'm not going to do that. You are more than welcome to do that. I'm going to continue Necromancer until I get Reap Spirit. I'm going to play with that for a little while. And then later, once I have enough extra points, I'm going to take points out of Reap Spirit, take points out of the Mastery Bar, and then I'm going to max, or not max, but I'm going to dump them into Shaman once I can get the Briar Thorn and maybe his Ground Slam ability. But for right now, we're getting Undead Legion, and we're going to focus on maxing this out. Now with 1 point, you'll see it does -2 second skill recharge, +1 summon limit, and less energy cost. So 1 point in there, and we now have a 4 summon limit. So we're going to have 4 skeletons, but we still only summon 3 at a time. Another point in here reduces the skill recharge and the energy cost, but it doesn't give us another summon. So we won't get our next summon until I think it's 4 points, 3 points extra per summon. So I'm going to put a point into Spectral Binding at this point, which will give us a little bit more health, basically. A good general sort of rule of thumb for a hardcore character is you want at least, and I say at least, 100 hit points per each level. So if you're level 10, add another 2 zeros, you want at least 1,000 hit points. More is better. There are some glass cannon builds that can work with slightly less, but if you're level 100 and you have only 10,000 hit points, your build really has to be focused, and you have to know why your hit points are that low, or you're going to be in trouble. So we summoned 3 new ones, 2 of the old ones died, and that's what we're left with. Coming up to the Foggy Bank, this is where we're looking for the second merchant. So we're going to rescue him, then we're going to go and raid his wares, which somehow he's managed to hold on to in spite of being locked in a cage. I don't know how he fit all that in his pocket, but that's alright. I'll buy it if it's what I'm after. So I'm accumulating Slith necklaces here. You don't have to, you can stop at 3. I think I'm going to go turn that one in now anyway. There's a couple different options for Luther. You can extort him for money if you wish. I'm not 100% sure what that gives you. I know it gives you some iron, but it probably gives you less reputation. For me, I don't see the point in it. Iron bits, at least early on, they're not worthless, but they're not as useful as the early reputation. Right. With that Foggy Bank Rift there, we've rescued him. Usually I would run up to the next rift. I'm going to do that anyway. If you don't find Luther Graves in that particular... Is it Luther Graves? It is. In that particular cage, there are 2 other cages he could be in. I'm going to resummon skeletons in hopes of getting 2 mages is better than 2 melee for sure. There are 2 other places you can find him. One of those places is around here. This camp anyway. I had thought that the cage would be here, but it's not, so I can't show you exactly where, but around here, just north of this cave. And the other place is off to the left here. We're almost at the point where skeletons become a walking simulator for a little bit. We're not quite there yet. I'll need a few more levels and a few more points in Undead Legion, but we will get to that point. Just here is the other place where he can be. We found him in the first spot, which is nice. I know there's a cage here, but he's not there. He is In fact, up here on the hill, I promise. Alright, I've now got 6 of those, which means I don't have to do this quest in Elite. I'll probably forget that they're there. Come back in a couple of weeks when I post the Elite video and I completely forget about it. Make sure you write in the comments here that I forgot, because I will. So there's a couple of ways through here. The first way, what you can do, you can just pay 5,000 iron bits and 3 scraps and repair the bridge. We're not doing that. We could do it, we do have the scraps, and we do have the iron bits, and we could skip this cave. But inside this cave, there is another devotion point, and we're not skipping it. You can't come in from the other side either. For right now, I'm going to go back to Devil's Crossing. I'm going to get again. I'm going to check for skeleton items. So in the bar, type SKEL. There isn't one, so a bit unfortunate, but we will sell all of the stuff that we have found, and we will go to our second merchant, Luther Graves, over here, and we'll see if he has any. He has a weapon. So this Necromancer's Sacrificial Knife of Frostbite, we are going to buy that, because that is +2 to raise skeletons. And does it have spirit on it? 5% spirit. How much are we short? 5. This is probably not going to be enough. I'm wrong, it is enough. If this wasn't enough, what I would have done is I would go up, sell that back. I would go up to the bank and I would get one of those polished emeralds out, and I would just put it on one of my rings, and that would give me another +8 to spirit. So early on, and actually there's absolutely no reason not to use these. You will be swimming in these, you will have so many you won't know what to do with them. Just use them. You know, put them on armor, put them on rings, don't put them on hats. Actually, pretty much just put them on rings. You don't want to put them on your weapons. There are other better things you could put on weapons, but just these things are here. Just use them. You know, armor goes really well on belts. This armor value, that +15, if you put it on a belt, it's also applied to every other slot. So over here, you'll see your armor rating. This has 3 armor itself and 15 armor from that component. If you look at my armor rating, my head is 38 armor. If I take this off, my helmet or my head is now only 20 armor. So the armor value on your belt applies to every other slot where you can take damage. These components are here to be used. You should absolutely use them. I'm even going to use a Frozen Heart on the ring we're about to get, because it is really good. Look at that, 70 health. I mean, the reduction in freeze and petrify later on is really useful. The cold resist later on is really useful. Components, especially the base components that just drop on the floor from killing things, you will have more than enough of them. Okay, so feel free to use them on every item, and don't stress about where they're going to come from. Okay, now that we have done the flooded passage, the next step is we're going to help Barnabas with the water pump. So this is Barnabas. He is going to just put all my scraps in the bank, but we're going to go get the scraps out of the bank. And he wants you to help him with the water pump because the prison is running out of water. So to fix the water pump, we need to get 5 scrap. You'll notice with that +2 weapon, we're now at 18 out of 16. And like I said, put it on, put it off, all the skeletons die. Alright, talk to Barnabas. Is that enough? Glad I could help. And now he's going to send us down into this trapdoor, which is an underground area. But I'm going to end this first episode here. So thank you very much for watching, and come back for the next episode where we will be finishing Act 1. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.